Ho tried to stop my fishing, so I owned the lake and banned them all. The lake shimmered like a secret waiting to be told, its surface catching the last rays of sunlight as if it knew the chaos about to unfold. I'd always been a quiet guy, content to cast my line into Willow Lake at dawn, letting the world fade into the gentle ripples. My name's Ethan Caldwell, a 42-year-old mechanic who'd lived in Pinewood Estates for a decade. The lake, just beyond the neighborhood's manicured lawns, was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the hum of engines and the weight of bills. Fishing wasn't just a hobby, it was my peace, my way of honoring my late father, who taught me to read the water like a book. But peace, it turns out, was the last thing Pinewood's HOA had in mind. It started with a letter, crisp and official, slipped under my door on a Tuesday. "Dear Mr. Caldwell," it read, "Fishing in Willow Lake violates HOA regulation 17.2, unauthorized recreational use of adjacent properties. Cease immediately or face a $500 fine." I laughed at first, thinking it was a mistake. The lake wasn't even HOA property, it was privately owned, a fact I'd checked when I moved in. But the letter bore the signature of Karen Whitmore, Pinewood's HOA president, a woman whose reputation for control was as legendary as her perfectly coiffed hair. I ignored it. The next morning, I was at the lake, rod in hand, when Karen appeared, her heels sinking into the soft earth. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, voice sharp as a blade, "you're in violation. This lake is an extension of our community's aesthetic, and your fishing disrupts it." I stared, dumbfounded. Aesthetic. The lake was wild, untamed, nothing like the HOA's cookie-cutter lawns. "It's not your lake." "Karen," I said, casting my line. Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." The next week, the fines started. $500, then $1,000, then a lien threat against my house. Karen had rallied the HOA board, claiming my fishing lowered property values and attracted undesirable wildlife. Neighbors I'd barbecued with began avoiding me, whispering about community standards. I tried reasoning with her at a board meeting, presenting the lake's private deed. Karen smirked, tossing her hair. "Deeds can be contested. We're protecting Pinewood's image." The room nodded along, spineless. I left, fists clenched, the lake's calm calling me back. But Karen escalated. One morning, I found my tackle box smashed, my rods snapped like twigs, and a no fishing sign staked by the water. The destruction was personal. My father's old lures, irreplaceable, glittered in the mud, crushed. I knew it was her. Neighbors reported seeing her near the lake at dawn, but no one would testify. She'd turned my sanctuary into a battlefield. Worse, she petitioned the county to rezone the lake as HOA controlled, claiming it was for the community's benefit. The audacity burned. I wasn't just fighting for fishing. I was fighting for my right to exist outside her iron grip. I started digging. The lake's owner was an elderly recluse, Mr. Hargrove, who lived an hour away. I drove to his cabin, a crumbling shack surrounded by pines. He was frail but sharp, his eyes glinting when I mentioned Karen. "Show us," he spat, vultures in blazers. He'd owned Willow Lake for 50 years, a gift from his father, but was tired of maintaining it. When I asked to buy it, he grinned. "Son, if you're sticking it to that HOA, I'll sell it cheap." We shook on $200,000 a stretch, but I drained my savings, took a second mortgage, and signed the deed. Willow Lake was mine. Karen didn't know yet. I let her ramp up her campaign, watching her smugly parade no fishing signs and threaten more fines. She even hired a lawyer to push the rezoning, claiming the lake was a public nuisance because of my reckless fishing. The HOA meetings grew vicious, with Karen painting me as a rebel tearing apart Pinewood's harmony. Neighbors who once waved now glared. My mailbox overflowed with anonymous notes calling me selfish. The pressure was suffocating, but I held the deed like a secret weapon, waiting. The breaking point came at the annual HOA picnic, held on a field overlooking the lake. Karen, in a pristine white dress, stood on a makeshift stage, rallying the crowd about preserving our community. She pointed to the lake, declaring it would soon be HOA protected. I'd had enough. I stepped forward, deed in hand, and interrupted. Karen, you don't own the lake. I do. The crowd gasped. Her face froze, then twisted into disbelief. That's absurd, she stammered. I held up the deed, notarized and ironclad. Check the county records. Willow Lake is mine. Chaos erupted. Karen's voice rose to a shriek, accusing me of fraud, of undermining the HOA's authority. You can't do this, she screamed, storming toward me. I stood my ground, the deed raised like a shield. I can, and I'm banning the entire HOA from setting foot near my lake. The crowd murmured, some angry, others stunned. Karen lunged for the deed, but I pulled it back, her nails grazing my arm. You'll regret this. Ethan, she hissed, her composure shattered. The picnic dissolved into shouting matches. Neighbors divided between those who saw Karen's tyranny and those too scared to defy her. The next day, I posted signs around the lake private property. No trespassing. Pinewood HOA banned. I hired a security firm to patrol, ensuring no one crossed the line. Karen retaliated, spreading lies on the neighborhood app, calling me a petty dictator. She organized a protest, leading a dozen HOA loyalists to the lake's edge, chanting for community access. I watched from my porch, security guards turning them away. One neighbor, Tom, broke ranks, admitting Karen had bullied him into supporting her. She threatened my landscaping permit. He confessed. Others followed, whispering about her tactics fines for minor infractions, intimidation, even sabotaging gardens to enforce standards. Karen's empire began to crack. The rezoning petition failed when the county verified my deed. Neighbors started questioning her leadership, uncovering her misuse of HOA funds for personal projects like her lavish patio, paid for with community dues. At the next board meeting, Tom and others demanded an audit. Karen deflected, but the truth spilled she'd funneled thousands into her own pocket while preaching community values. The board voted her out, her screams echoing as she was escorted from the room. But the lake wasn't enough. I wanted justice for every crushed lure, every sleepless night. I opened the lake to local kids for free fishing lessons, teaching them my father's tricks, turning Karen's nuisance into a community haven on my terms. I invited neighbors who'd apologized, hosting barbecues by the water, the no trespassing signs a quiet reminder of who held power. Karen tried one last stunt, sneaking onto the lake at night to vandalize my new dock. Security caught her, spray paint dripping from her hands. The footage went viral on the neighborhood app, her humiliation complete. Months later, Karen moved. Her house sold at a loss after buyers learned of her disgrace. Willow Lake thrived, alive with laughter and fishing lines, free from her shadow. I stood by the water one dawn, casting my line, the ripples carrying my father's memory. The lake wasn't just mine, it was a victory, a testament that one man, armed with resolve, could outcast a tyrant. Karen's reign was over, and the water was finally still.